live. All right, we are back for another market close. Today's Tuesday, October 5th. Closing out the market. We have about 14 minutes till the market closes, so we're going to see what happens. Let's put it out on Twitter, let everyone know that the market is closing. Live market close. It's a pretty red market as always. Nothing's really changed. Sasky, what's up? Prince Butar, what's up? Morrow, what's up? Nothing's really changed in the context of this market. Rot CV78, what's up? What's up? What's up? It's red. If you guys were here in the market open that I did today at 9:20 Eastern Standard Time, it's pretty much the same. I mean, there's relatively nothing that crazy. Uriel, what's up? Still red. Tesla recovering a little bit. Tesla went down all the way to 235. Tesla went back up to about 241, which is good for Tesla because Tesla was down pretty significantly. Alibaba at 84. We got SoFi at 531, doing okay on the day. Snapchat 11. S&P actually doing decently. The Dow Jones is up 100 points as well. So, I mean, like, it's not horrible. It's relatively flat, but it was also red in the morning. Meta going below 140, 139.98. Facebook is cutting back one of its offices in New York City, and they are having a hiring freeze, and they're getting rid of all internships. Now, they wouldn't need to do this if they weren't spending $10 billion a year on the metaverse, but because they're spending so much on the metaverse, they have to get rid of all these external costs, and that's what's going on with Facebook right now. So, ER Pro, what's up? What's up? Enphase down big today. Yes, this is actually a good one. I was looking at this the other day, or today. My Enphase buy is more around 180, but because that's where it went at one point, right? Like if we look at the, if we look here, we had Enphase at right here, 160 May 2022, and the S&P wasn't even. The S&P was at relatively the same level since then. So like, and it then rallied to 324, basically doubling. So if we could get Enphase back down to the 150, 180-ish range, I would be really excited for it. I don't know if that's going to happen. I mean, probably not going to happen, but we will ultimately see. So that's Enphase right now. What other couple of things do we got? S&P 377, Google recovering to be about 102. Google was stuck within the 96 to 100 range. It's done relatively decently, staying where it is right now. For some reason, I keep thinking today's Wednesday, but today's Tuesday. Wait, no, today's Wednesday, right? Oh, today's Wednesday. Why did I say today was Tuesday? I don't know why I thought today was Wednesday. But today is not Wednesday. CRM, Salesforce 156, Snowflake 185, Duolingo 102, Duolingo cracking above 90, Roku 60. Let's go to ARK. ARK Innovation, $40.16. We have some new details on Elon and Twitter that I want to talk about in a little bit. From what I can tell, it crashed on analyst downgrades. Yeah. Oh, Enphase crashed on analyst. Interesting. Enphase crashing on analyst downgrades. Elon Twitter stuff is really interesting. I think that it's going to be very weird what happens with Elon and Twitter, but it's going to be exciting to see how it sort of phases out over the long term. This is basically what's going on. Musk has a plan to turn Twitter into a super app. Let's listen to a little bit about what the plan is. Let's get into it right here.
What do you think? What is a super app?
Well, a super app, we should start, is the dream of every US tech company. It's a single app that has mini apps in it. And that means you never have to leave that app to do everything. Payments, shopping, get your news, message, and it's all in one app. So again, you never leave the app because it's super.
It's its own ecosystem.
Correct. Its own walled garden, if you will, right? You have operating systems in some areas. Well, we all have operating systems on our phones, but then there's this idea that what if one app could just do a lot of what that operating system's already doing, right? Have the messaging, have the payments, have all the sort of infrastructure that allows those apps to talk to each other, or what they call mini apps in this
Steve,
super app.
there are examples where this has been rolled out.
Yeah.
Most of them are in Asia, China, Korea, Vietnam, and elsewhere. How have they done, and what has the uptake been?
Extremely well. So the best example of this is WeChat, which is owned by the Chinese internet giant Tencent. They have over 1 billion users. And like Joanna was saying, you can do everything in this app. Texting, as the name implies, you can hail a car similar to Uber. You can buy things both in physical retail stores or just shop online like you would through Amazon. So you, Tyler, you probably have a separate app for all of those features. This happens all in one. And to Joanna's point, this has been tried in the US to various degrees of success. Facebook is constantly stuffing new features inside the app and taking them away and trying to figure out how to build their own super app. Uber has talked about it to some degree. Even FTX, the crypto exchange, has talked about it. But the problem here is Western users just don't seem to take it up the same way Asian users do. So that's going to be the challenge for Elon Musk. Does he have some kind of secret sauce or some game-changing way to get us and convince us to use a super app instead of a separate app for all these things
So,
we
Joanna,
like to do?
this sounds to me a little bit like the cable bundle. In other words, you subscribe to a super app and you get all the channels and all the things you want. Are these for pay apps, these super apps, or do you get them for free?
Well, I think actually payment is core to this, right? So I want to talk about my electrician, my plumber, the babysitter for my kids. All of them now, when they bill me, they're using different apps to bill me: Venmo, Zelle, Apple Pay. The idea with this app is one central payment system. So you can pay all these bills, all these places, as Steve mentioned, shopping, all through this app. So yes, to your point, it is sort of a bundle, right? All of these stores and retailers and apps come to this app for an underlying payment structure. The question, as Steve said very clearly, is do US users or Western users want this? We have had a very strong inclination to have an operating system where there's an app for that, a different app for that.
I'll tell you one thing that I would like would be the idea that I would probably have only one password as opposed to
Yes.
75 or 80
Yes.
logins and passwords here. I mean, that would be a real convenience. On the other hand, I think I would be very suspicious of having ceded so much of my digital life and my identity to one provider.
Yeah, that's part of the problem too. And so, look, let me just demonstrate how important this app is Tyler. When 2 years ago, Donald Trump tried to take WeChat away from the United States. He tried to ban it because it's owned by a Chinese company. There was a collective freak out here because it's the only way Chinese Americans can talk to their friends and family over in China because so many other apps are banned. So there's so much tied into there. And to your point, yes, we would have to ask ourselves, if Elon Musk does turn this into his vision, do we want to give that much authority and power to one person or one company? And it seems like right now, Western users have said, no, we'd rather kind of spread it out. And
this is really interesting because the whole concept behind WeChat, which is this Chinese super app, is a one-stop shop where you can do everything. I'm about to look at WeChat on the App Store right now. Is it even available? It has to be available to Americans because the video was saying that people talk with it. Yeah, it is. WeChat. Interesting. WeChat. So it's like China's super app. Huh. Very interesting. So yeah, I mean, if Elon was to do something like that with Twitter, as we can see, Twitter basically trading a little bit above the purchase price, it would be pretty interesting. I think there are implications for like, do we want to do, like, for example, Facebook rolled out podcasts in June 2020 as they were trying to compete against Clubhouse. And no one really listens to podcasts on Facebook. Like, that's just, it kind of failed because it's like, why would we care about podcasts on Facebook, right? But people do other stuff on Facebook. Recently on my Facebook home tab, I've seen dating, right? So they're trying to bring like a Tinder type of relationship thing to Facebook, which makes sense, right? There's so many people, you might as well just like pair them up with each other from a dating perspective. The problem, I guess, is if people want to use one app to do multiple things. And I think historically we've shown we don't. WhatsApp doesn't work in China. I don't think so. I think WhatsApp is banned in China. In India and Brazil, it's very big, but in China, I'm pretty sure it's not as big. So I think that's the thing. It's like, if people don't want to use multiple things, then and again, like if he does not do the super app vision, I don't know how Twitter makes more revenue. And I think that's the fundamental problem, right? Twitter has advertising revenue right now, but from what I understand, the ads aren't amazing. And so if that's the case, right, how do you get people to pay? They have to have some type of service that's worth paying for. And like, what is that service that's worth paying for? That is the question when it comes to Twitter. Like, they tried to do a couple of different things in the context of like Twitter Blue and Twitter subscriptions, and like no one really cares about it. It's like, it's just not worth paying for. I mean, people don't even pay for YouTube Premium. Like, if people don't pay for YouTube Premium, it's going to be hard for the people to pay for something else. Facebook dating has been around for like 3 years now. It showed up in my home feed for the first time like 3 weeks ago. Like, there was a tab called dating, and I never saw it before. I mean, I knew they were working on dating, but they never put it in front of me to the point where like I could swipe left or right. So it was, I guess they rolled it out in a different way. But Facebook also has marketplace. Like, Twitter should have a marketplace, right? Twitter should have a marketplace where you can just sell and buy stuff immediately because there's so many people there. And it could be localized within your region and all this stuff. There could probably be a great algorithm around that. But that's not really there. Number of users on WhatsApp is irrelevant. If they use ads, their end-to-end encryption will be exposed. So WhatsApp is useless for Meta. Yeah, but Jay Schwab, they're not trying to use ads on WhatsApp. If they use ads, their end-to-end. Oh, you're saying if other people use. Yeah, to me, I understand WhatsApp is like a business communication tool. So they have 440 million MAUs. If they can get all businesses to like sell stuff on WhatsApp, and Facebook takes like a little small percentage of each transaction, it's almost like a mini Shopify in a communication portal that is direct to consumer, because WhatsApp is direct to consumer. But just having an asset that has that many people on it, it's crazy, bro. WhatsApp's growth is just like insane. The amount of people that use that product. I mean, like, my parents use it every single day, and I never use it ever. Damn, I didn't get a notification again. Oh my gosh, we have to get YouTube to send these notifs. John, what's up? Finally able to make it to a market close. Felicia says, how does everyone not have YouTube ad free? Oh, people have jobs. Yeah, I couldn't deal with the ads anymore, man. I really couldn't deal with it. It was getting to the point where I was like, I'm not gonna do this, bro. Like, I'm not, like, these ads are insane. But it's so, people just, they're making 4K a premium feature now. I saw the other day on Twitter, they're making 4K a premium feature. Like, if you click on 2160, it has like a premium underneath it. It was like a leaked screenshot. By the way, guys, we are about 53 seconds away from the market close, which is really interesting. Yes, but the WhatsApp use case you described is non-existent today. We're talking about possibilities. Yeah, I mean, they have to build that out ultimately. And if they build it out, that would be, I think that's where their case is. But as of now, they haven't done that. A Facebook employee pitched building WhatsApp for Facebook, and they rejected it, so he quit and built it on his own. And then, yeah, he sold it for $22 billion, I think, which is crazy. Wow, 4K is a feature. I'm good with 1080. That's what I was like, most people will just watch 1080. Like, no one cares that much about 4K unless you're really into like photography and video stuff. Why not just get an ad blocker? Well, I don't know. It's a bit unethical, right? At the end of the day, creators got to get paid. And turn it off for creators you want to support. Yeah, that could be an argument. Did you post the Jeremy interview yet? No. Jeremy interview will be up probably tomorrow, the audio version, and then the video will be up on Friday. So Jeremy's stuff is coming soon. All right. It is 4 p.m. October 5th, 2022. For those that are new here, cover your ears. For those that are here, get ready for music to your ears. The market is now officially closed. Zoom 77, Open Door 3.2, Nvidia 132, up from 122 from last Monday, so that's not too bad. Netflix 236. What do we have? FedEx 156. Obviously, FedEx went through a rough month with their earnings. Coinbase 72. CleanSpark. I interviewed their executive chair at 3:30. Have not bought any of the stock yet because still don't know enough about them. But CleanSpark is doing all right as per the last week. TQQQ, Triple Q, Leverage 22. Let's go to Palantir. 842 after hours. Yeah, pretty much the same. It's down about 0.5% of the day. Tesla 240 down about 0.15 in the after hours. ARC 40 was down at 37 lows. Twitter 51, SoFi 528, Apple 146. Nothing too different. Apple has started putting a lot of their manufacturing in India, which one could imagine if they're transitioning out of China, what that means for the geopolitical relations of the United States and China if Apple's not there anymore. Have no fear, Gabe is here. What's up, Gabe? Miyoko with the bell symbol. I'm so curious about the Jeremy interview. Is the first time Jeremy exposed himself to a certain degree, or no, never seen him live or an interview? Or did he control you in some way? No, the Jeremy interview was pretty chill. I just asked him about his stocks. I asked him about living in Vegas. I asked him about Palantir. It wasn't, I don't want to say it got too deep because there's not that much deep stuff to go into. It was a good hour long of just us talking, really. It wasn't anything too crazy. So we'll see. Didn't get the notification, or so just joined. Did you see that Ray Dalio was leaving his fund? This was actually 2 days ago. Ray Dalio decided to leave his fund. It's interesting why now he's leaving the fund. I mean, he's been warning for something bad happening for a while. So I don't know, but I guess he decided that there is no time to do this anymore, or like basically right now is the best time to get away from social media, I guess, or sorry, from the hedge fund. I don't know. We're gonna have to see. All right, let's look at this. Pinterest and Snap could take market share from Twitter. Let's see how that could happen. Ahad, what's up? Did he ice coffee? No, that's Graham. That's not Jeremy. He doesn't. But Graham lives right next to Jeremy, so it was cool knowing that we were right next to him. Would you buy Neo under $10? I don't like Neo, but I under $10 might not be the worst buy.
Thanks for joining us. Reading your note this morning, you do say could potentially cease to be a public company by the end of next week. I guess the question is going to be what kinds of restructurings he can do and whether or not they ever do return to the public markets.
Hey, thanks for having me. And again, what I would say is this does not mean that this deal is closed. As in, at this point, I think let's agree that Musk does not deserve a lot of benefit of doubt here. But assuming he follows through, assuming that this time it's for real, then probably the first order of business is to figure out the management team, figure out who's going to lead this company, and figure out the top C-level execs. He's been pretty vocal criticizing current management team. So that's going to be the first order of business. Highly unlikely Musk wants to run Twitter on a day-to-day basis, in my opinion.
Right. Are we talking about pretty aggressive cost cutting internally?
Probably cost cutting could come secondary, in my opinion. First order of business would just be stemming employee churn and having better employee retention. And the first 6 months could be whether this is something that he wants to run as a company that wants to come back to public markets, or would it be something that he would fold under this new X.com? He did tweet something about a super app that Twitter could be part of. If that's the vision, that could mean that this is going to be a piece of the puzzle that Musk wants to just play around in the private markets.
I mean, there's still a lot of unknowns here. And to your point, a big asterisk around the deal still closing. Is your expectation, though, that this is a company that, after taking private, after being invested in, could ultimately come back to the public markets? What's your thesis?
At this point, knowing what we know right now, Twitter is better restructured private and better come back, more healthy, a better business model to the public markets. It's too large to stay private. It already would be under a lot of public scrutiny, given the role that Twitter plays in the global media and investment community. So regardless of whether it's a private or a public company, there would be public scrutiny, in my opinion. So it's better off restructured in the private markets and coming back as a public company with healthier fundamentals.
What do these dynamics mean in terms of winners and losers for the other social media names?
In the near term, I feel there are going to be more. There could be more market share shift away from Twitter into smaller companies, into other comparable social media apps. I think companies like Pinterest or maybe perhaps Snap could also be there to win a little bit of extra market share as Twitter figures out its core business model. Musk has talked about subscriptions. He's talked about a lot of new things that he would want to play around Twitter with. So while that happens, advertisers would want to figure out how do we now allocate our dollars on it.
If we're talking about Pinterest and Snapchat, I think that's an interesting thing. Twitter is ultimately a search engine for words, right? That's all Twitter is. It's a search engine for words. And the data that they generate is so proprietary and so unique that the advertising theoretically should be phenomenal. Like, for example, if I say, oh, I just got some Dunkin' Donuts, their algorithms should be able to read Dunkin' Donuts, emit, and then target me a localized Dunkin' Donut commercial, right? Advertisement. Their advertising hasn't been that amazing from my perspective because it doesn't convert that well. So it's more impressions based versus brand based. So it's really interesting. Twitter's appeal is very text focused and very simple. Yeah. So I think what Shintoki means by that is that trying to include pictures and make it like a visual search engine like Pinterest is, or trying to include videos and shopping. It's Twitter is more so these quick bites. I mean, like, for example, Twitter has Spaces, right? They went after Clubhouse, the audio stuff. I don't remember the last time I've ever listened to a space because unless someone's going live in a space that I really care about, I would click on it and then consume it. But actively scroll down a feed of Twitter Spaces and try to find something to listen to, that's just not, it's just not the common behavior on Twitter. Same thing with videos. Like, videos aren't that common behavior on Twitter. If it shows up in your feed, awesome. But if it's like a feed of videos, like a TikTok feed, it's not natural to Twitter. So Twitter is this natural thing for people that are very chatty, which is why it's such a unique product, because you have to be very chatty to succeed on it. You have to have a lot of stuff to say. You have to constantly be saying it. You have to be witty. You have to use GIFs, all that stuff. And a far majority of the population can't do that, right? Like, everyone can post a photo, post a TikTok, but coming up with something really interesting to say from like a text perspective is difficult. And that's why niches on Twitter are so important, right? Like, are you in the music niche? Are you in the finance niche? What are you in the philosophy niche? So to turn it into a super app, I do think taking it private and then allowing you to restructure what is the business model. How do you plan? I mean, Musk says he wants 1 billion users. There's like 200 million, and there's been 200 million for the past 5 years now. How do you get that? I think that's the question. The data they have is the emotional state of the person at a given time, given place, given information. Apply this to driving. Well, yeah. So that's the other logic. Do we think Elon can take the Twitter data and in real time synchronize it with Tesla's AI machine learning data to come up with a more stronger AGI, right? Artificial general intelligence. Maybe not. I don't know if that's his main focus. I don't know. I would kind of doubt that's his main job, make it his focus, but we are going to see. Let's hear a better perspective here. Elon can increase Twitter's value with the right team. Let's hear this one.
You said this somewhere between $20 a share it's worth and 150, and I said, so like any tech stock, it's worth somewhere between 1x and 7x.
That's one perspective. A second is a question, it really begs a question of what is Elon's motivation here or how much time he's going to invest in Twitter. To me, that is the core question, and that has an impact on what happens with Tesla and his time at Tesla. But Joe, that 20, I was adjusting it for current stock price. If you put that in market cap, call it a 20 billion versus a 130 billion, call it a $40 billion market cap today. But it really comes down to his goal and the amount of time he's going to invest in that. And so at its most basic level it really is difficult, impossible to predict what its value is, because ultimately it comes down to that investment in time question. Even Elon Musk is subject to 24-hour days. He's notorious for working 18-hour days. He gets more done, I think, than anybody, but there is, I think, a limit. And I think when you line up his passions, most importantly, if you look at what Tesla is doing, which is you can think about renewable energy, you can think about cutting the cost of transportation, reducing deaths on the road, the Optimus robot in terms of solving labor problems, SpaceX with space travel, maybe a different planet for humans to live on. These are the types of problems that Elon ultimately wants to solve. I believe that those are where his biggest passions are. And so when I play this forward, I put that 20 to 150 kind of range out there. But when I play this forward, I think it's less likely that he invests a substantial amount of his time into Twitter. He has to put on a good face today. He clearly doesn't want this asset. And I don't think that the fact that the pride piece plays into this, because he's got so many toys with Tesla and SpaceX, he doesn't need to be distracted with Twitter.
I don't know, Gene. Maybe he doesn't want to delegate the engineering specs on having a rocket take off and land on the same pad, and he needs to be there for that. Maybe to colonize Mars, he needs to be intimately involved. You don't think you can delegate someone to do what he wants to do with Tesla? This is not anywhere close to designing a flying autonomous taxi.
Tesla or Twitter?
Twitter, yeah, Twitter. I'm sorry, yeah, Twitter. I mean, you can delegate this thing. This is not rocket science. I can actually use that term here. This is not rocket science. This is a social media website. He can delegate, put people in charge that can run this way he wants it to be run. He doesn't have to sit around thinking about Twitter.
Well, I think that a delegation is subject to the lieutenants that are put into place, and it's unclear who that will be. And I would agree that if he is able to put an A group together and can take his orders on this, that the value of Twitter can increase. My view is that this can go up.
Either do an ad model or a subscription model, or
There's gonna be more turmoil there for a while. I mean,
Right.
he's gone to battle with this management team. The employees there, there's going to be.
He doesn't have to battle with the management team.
No, he doesn't, but he's got to find other people to run
Right,
it.
exactly. So if he can delegate it to people that will do what his vision is for Twitter, it's certainly a lot
Jack
easier.
Dorsey was splitting his time with two companies, Square and Twitter.
He's not
And
Elon
that did
Musk.
not.
He's sitting there thinking about engineering specs for SpaceX while he's looking at the
While he's talking to Jay
assembly
Leno.
line on Tesla. Yeah,
Talking to Jay Leno.
talking to Jay Leno. So he's not your. We'll see. Twitter is pretty. What I was saying, Gene, is Twitter's not going anywhere. I think it's only going to get bigger, and we use it. It's utilitarian. I just don't know how you monetize it, but I think it's here to stay.
I think it's here to stay. I would just, when we kind of let's play down the delegation road here too, and his vision. And there's I guess a philosophical question about the future of Twitter. This objective town hall, is that possible? Is this going to be a platform that you get some weight on one side of the conversation and it just kind of spills over, that the other people just don't want to be a part of it? It's never been done. It's never been done at scale. It's been done
the way it is now.
Gil, great to see you.
Okay, so interesting stuff here. I think, the delegation part of Elon getting some good people to run Twitter, that makes sense. But as Miyoko says, don't underestimate the depth of Elon's multitasking ability. Jay Schwartz says, can someone explain to me why did the lawsuit require Elon to release all of his texts? That's actually hilarious, bro. Those texts were so... Did you guys see the text, him talking to what's his name? Larry Ellison? Larry was like, all right, I got you if you need $1 billion. And Elon was like, I need $2 billion. Can you do $2 billion for the financing of Twitter? And Larry was like, if you need $2 billion, I'll give you $2 billion. And then he was like, great. And he was like, awesome. It was just like billionaires talking about how many billions they should throw. I mean, when you've got 100, you can throw 2 and it's not a big deal. But goodness, it's like me talking to my friend. I'm like, yo, do you got $50? Like, yeah, it's just hilarious. Why didn't Parag have to release all of his texts? I wonder what Parag even texts like, bro. Parag seems like someone who doesn't have a personality. I mean, the guy seems cool, but he doesn't seem like someone who's like... I just don't get how Twitter hasn't solved the bot problem yet. I think the honest truth, I don't know how anyone can really argue this. If they got rid of bots, there would be so many accounts that would be deleted tomorrow that the decline in their user base would be so substantial. I mean, it would probably be a couple million, if not more, right? Where you might be in the tens of millions of accounts deleted. And if that's the case, their next earnings, they're going to say, we went from 200 million people to 192. You lost 8 million users because they were never real users. And it can't be that hard to detect the spam. It just can't. It cannot be an AI problem that is so difficult. Like, if we can do driving cars, we can figure out the key phrases people use and the key types of tweets they initiate to find out if it's spam. Like, and yeah, maybe there'll be some false flags, and then they can fix those. But that doesn't have to be the reason why we can't find spam. Admit I need $2 million. I wish I could give you two, but active. Well, bot users are active, right? Because active on Twitter just means you post, or you active on Twitter probably means you check the app once, either in the month or in the day or in the week. A monthly active user, and pretty much all social media, is defined as logging on the app and literally scrolling once. Boom, you were monthly active. If you do that every day, you're daily active. So if a bot tweets or does something daily, weekly, or monthly, it's an active user. Trump is going to get unbanned and DWAC going to go. Yo, where's DWAC at, bro? Because Trump is probably going to come back. Jordan Peterson's probably going to come back because they're both banned right now. DWAC's at 17. This was the SPAC that never SPAC'd, right? And Truth Social. Has anyone ever been on Truth Social? I downloaded it. There wasn't that much interesting content. I guess I'll just say that. And they make you auto follow Trump. Like, it's look at this. Trump's right up there. There's Trump tweeting about CNN. He's really active on this. He was tweeting 3 hours ago. He sued CNN for $475 million. Wow. Well, Trump's pretty active. That's why he's taking the company private, so those numbers don't matter. Yeah. I mean, and taking it private is probably going to be helpful for them. I don't think you think Trump's not going to be back. I think Trump's going to be back. I think Elon's not going to have anyone censored. I don't think he wants to censor anybody. And if he doesn't bring him back, that kind of takes away the entire point of Twitter, or at least what Elon's trying to do at Twitter, which is, something totally different than what's currently being done. Okay, let's see this right here. The Fed must temper its hawkish stance. Let's see what this is saying here. I don't think I watched this morning. If I did, let me know. I don't think I did, though.
Professor Siegel, I know that you are of the opinion you can't time the bottom, but stocks have come down significantly. This might be a very good time to buy. But I'd like to get you to talk about some of the comments we just heard from Ken Rogoff, Professor Ken Rogoff. He's of the opinion that these low interest rates we've seen might be a thing of the past, no matter what happens, even if the Fed's able to tame inflation, that we have seen times in the past where we see blips of lower interest rates, but that eventually they go away. He thinks there's a reversion to the mean here. And there are a lot of implications for what that means from everything for the markets to policymakers and what they'll be able to do. Do you agree with him?
Well, yeah, and it was a very interesting interview, and I know Ken very well. I agree and I disagree with a couple things he said. First of all, at the end, he said to the Fed, don't get inflation down to 2% too fast. And I agree completely with that, that the Fed, as you know, needs to go slower. I have to disagree with him on the interest rate. The actual decline in real interest rates really began right after 2000 and have been steady, not just 2007 financial crisis. And it is due to slower real growth around the world, slower productivity growth, slower population growth. I mean, around the world, all those things economists say, lower real interest rates. Also, we have an older population that is more risk averse, goes more into bonds as you get older. That increases the demand for bonds. And bonds, until this year, have been one of the best short-term hedges against the stock market that we have. And so that's another factor. And so I think that the decline in real interest rates is really much more permanent than he suggests. And I think real interest rates are going to go back down after the Fed becomes less aggressive in its monetary policy stance.
You think that the Fed is going to be less aggressive in the near future? Because that's certainly what the market seems to be indicating, the equities market, at least over the last couple of days.
Well, I agree with what Mike Santoli said. I think the JOLTS data gave the stock market a jolt. And I hope it gives the Fed a jolt to say, hey, you know what? Things are slowing a lot faster than perhaps they even thought possible. I mean, in today's Wall Street Journal article, there was an article that said that home builders are offering buyers, not final buyers, but bulk buyers, 20% discounts to take homes off their hands. They are not getting any traffic with the surge in mortgage rates and the softening in prices. However, if you know, the personal consumption deflator, the CPI, that won't record in deflation in the housing index. I mean, we talked about those lags. That's my biggest worry. They're going to keep on looking at housing inflation in the official indexes, while on the ground, there's absolutely no question the housing is going down. And that's a very, very important factor. We just heard of on your program just a half hour ago, what's going on with car loans and what that might do to car selling. All the signs are there for a slowdown. The Fed must recognize that and temper their hawkish stance. I think that's really why the market is rallied, particularly.
So basically, the professor is saying there's enough evidence out there that things are coming back down to normal, that inflation is going down, and that a lot of things are about to crash, particularly the housing market. And when that happens, interest rates cannot be that high, because that's really going to get us into a recession if we have a housing market crash and we have a ridiculously high in Fed funds rates. Now, if the inflation report in October does not come out as the Fed wants it to be, it's still going to be pretty bad, right? The Fed's still going to raise it by 75 bips. I guess most people would want a less hawkish Fed to be at 50. I guess that would be the compromise. But that's also why the market has potentially rallied over the past couple of days, because they think the Fed is absolutely going to do this. Amit, have you been paying attention to Elon's filings for his ex-holding company umbrella? He filed 3 very strange. Something is off. Why is he filing 3 of them? Initially, it was supposed to be 1 with everything under it, but now he filed 3. I think it has something to do with inflating the valuation. I have no clue what Elon's doing with the ex-holding company. But it's a cool master plan, right? Twitter, Tesla, SpaceX, Neuralink, all these things underneath that one company. Maybe that one company is going to be something that goes public. I don't know. It's interesting. I have no clue. I have absolutely no clue what he's trying to do. Meta at 138. Will I buy Meta? Probably not. I'm just not convinced on Meta. My thesis on them has changed so dramatically since January. Like January, I was so excited about Meta. Now I'm just like, this is probably going to take a while for them to come back. However, I do think buying the dip right now is a good idea. I think in 5 years, people are going to have conversations like, why the fuck was I not just spending so much money buying the dip here? I think there are certain companies you want to pick to buy the dip on. And obviously, if you don't know them, then the S&P is like the best thing to buy the dip on. But we got to see. We've got to see what ends up happening. We are trying to sell our home right now. We dropped the price to $20K. We are worried we won't be able to sell anytime soon. The slowdown is here. Yeah, it's so interesting, man. Like the housing market is obviously artificially overinflated, and it's going to have to come down in order for people to buy. Otherwise, people are not going to be buying. But I don't know. I think that we have to have some level of price correction in order for people to actually feel it's meaningful. I disagree a bit. Yeah, Gabe, I mean, you think there's going to be like a really, really bad crash. I mean, I think that could happen, but I think DCAing right now is not the worst idea in case it doesn't. Yeah, the housing market is confusing right now. It's not going to be stable for some time. Like my parents bought a house in December 2020, and it's up like hundreds of thousands in value. It's like, that's not real. Like that's all fake. And no one's going to buy it at this price, right? It's like, this is not the economy where someone pays that much more unless you're absolutely desperate for a house. And it's like, most people can wait if it's that bad. So I don't know. It's going to be interesting to see what it says. Let's look at this one. The Fed should get inflation to about 3.5% and then slow down.
Would you give recent Fed regimes, if you're an economics professor, you give out grades, would you give any of these recent regimes an A? And I don't mean a Harvard A, I mean a real A.
Yeah. Well, you can't. I mean, obviously, I think the Fed maybe got to beat up on a little bit more than it deserves, because a lot of what it was doing was being cheered on by many, many economists who thought that inflation would just never come. I think the one really big mistake they made was when they changed their framework at the end of 2021 and said, we're no longer going to look at unemployment being very low as something signaling inflation. We're going to wait till we see inflation. And that was just a bad idea. They're going to have to walk that back.
And they did that, and they also ignored a lot of asset inflation, that crazy stuff, SPACs and NFTs and you name it, meme stocks. They ignored a lot of that and said, no, we're still, regular inflation is 1.8%. We want to get to 2. Druckenmiller made that point. So to get it back to 2, they ignored all the things that you just talked about.
Well, there was a debate. And again, there's many people who thought that the forces bringing down inflation adjusted interest rates and bringing, down real interest rates were secular, demographics, low productivity, inequality. There are like 1,000 papers on this. I think that was way overblown. If the real interest rates had stayed low, in other words, the Fed could afford to maintain 2% inflation at very low interest rates, you could justify those asset prices. But I've always been skeptical. I've always thought this would come to an end. I don't know about a crashing end, but not a pleasant one. And I think we're starting it.
You are not a market timer or even a stock market analyst, but what you're saying is, I can't see how long-term that would be positive for equity prices. Do you think we'll continue to be rewarded, our viewers, by investing long-term in equities? Ken, are we in a period where there may be a reversion to the mean?
Well, there's been a lot of reversion to the mean already. I mean, you're more up on exactly, I think all the equity indices were down 21 or percent at one point. They've gone up a little bit, but housing prices, art prices, Bitcoin prices, yeah, I think there's a long-term adjustment. How brutal it will be depends a little bit on how fast the Fed wants to get back to 2% inflation. I actually think they shouldn't be zealots about it. I think we're facing very unusual supply shocks, and they should get inflation down to like 3.5 or 4, and then take their time the way Alan Greenspan did in the 80s and early 90s. That's not what they're saying at the moment, but I bet they come around to that once the recession starts really kicking in.
All right. Well, either we buy the effing dip or you take Gabe's advice and you don't buy the effing dip. Ultimately, I do think if you have a 5-10 year horizon, it's not the worst thing to buy the dip. But in all likelihood, things probably will get a little bit lower. The market will be more rational. Like we hit the June lows, then we bounced up. We went lower than the June lows, then we bounced up. Could we go back there again? I see no reason why we can't. We didn't think that when we got to 430 on the S&P a month ago. We were like, oh, this is amazing. And it wasn't. But October historically does do well. So put in $10 every day for 40 years. How much would that be? $10 every. So what? We have 365 days times 10. That's 3640 times 40. That'd be 146,000 invested over 40 years. Not horrible. All right, everybody. I got to get out of here. Got some more work to do. Thank you so much for joining me on the market close. I will see you guys tomorrow. Market open, 9:20 a.m. Eastern. Thank you to the 180 people who joined today's market open. And yeah, we'll keep seeing what goes on. Thank you, everybody. Bye-bye.